Good morning, everybody. Lawrence Fleming here. It's a little bit earlier in the day. The sun's not quite through the trees yet, but it's a little bit warmer so I can get out here. I like doing these videos early in the morning when I can. Well, I posted a link from one of Glenn Beck's shows, and I'm surprised that there's not that many people clicking like, or I don't know if it's improved his views and people just aren't clicking like. I don't know. It's important information or I wouldn't have posted it. But I don't know if people are afraid to click on his stuff because he's accurate, but he's pretty much tells us what's going on, and I don't think the current people in charge would want to be involved in that. It's going to get rough out there, people. You need to support your church as much as you can. These people that were praying at the abortion clinic, they're handing out 11-year prison sentences. The local authorities dropped it. But the DOJ came in there with the FBI and are arresting these people under a federal government ruling. They're pushing it through. Those that were in, I'm basically going to try to paraphrase some of Glenn Beck's work, because I don't know if you people are not watching it, or if you're afraid to, or you don't believe him. I don't know what it is. I'm not telling you this stuff to scare you. I'm telling you this stuff to motivate you to get out there and start helping. People like that are trying to stop abortions. I mean, here we are in a recession, heading for a depression, and our fearless leader comes out and says, the first thing I'm going to do when I get in office after the midterm elections, when I've still got control, first thing I'm going to do is reverse the Roe versus Wade decision. We're going to go back to killing babies. I'm so excited. That's the world we live in. And you've got to put up some resistance. You just can't roll over. We don't know when the rapture is. And even if we did know when the rapture is, they're still killing innocent babies that shouldn't be. There may be medical cases. But abortion as birth control, that's murder. Absolute 100% murder. And they can't tell you when a child is, or a baby is old enough to be considered human, because that would involve confronting religion, and they don't want to do that. This is a little bit of a harsh video this time, I don't know, and I don't know if I'm going to get censored on this, but I'm getting tired of watching all this stuff just collapse and nobody say anything. Nobody. Except for a few like Glenn Beck. I hope he's got lots of protection. I hope he's got lots of friends looking out for him. But we have an out of control governmental enforcement agencies. They've even armed the IRS. That is not how you win friends and influence people in government. But they're not worried about losing control. They're not worried about any of this stuff. That ought to scare you enough as it is. We're just a few days away from a final election. From the early election stuff, they're losing big time. I guarantee you, they're either going to let the election go completely and then collapse everything and blame it on the Republicans. It's like I said in an earlier video, it's history repeating itself. Nero is the one responsible. Their drunken orgies were responsible for the burning of Rome, but he blamed it on the Christians. And he got everybody around him to back him up on it. So then his attack on the Christians, they almost destroyed Christianity. Satan did. In the first 2 or 3 centuries, two anyway. There are no first century manuscripts because they burned them all. Many of their leaders were killed. We're repeating that right now. So you say, well, I'm afraid to get out there because I'll be a target. Well, we all are. All the disciples and apostles in the first century were pretty much martyred. They spent a lot of time in prison. Paul wrote his best letters in prison, and John gave us the book of Revelation from prison. Are we willing to do that? I don't know. Not enough people are. On his show, he was showing a chart, a Gallup poll. He said that out of this Gallup poll, they were asking how many people go to church. I didn't read the details to know whether it's any church or just a church, but was it in 1970 that 80% people went to church? At the bottom of the poll, the last time it was checked, which was fairly recently, was 47%. We are no longer in the majority, we're in the minority. And it's emboldened them to walk over us. If you're caught doing anything that they don't want you to do, they're going to come in and arrest you. If you can imagine any of the things that Hitler did as he was gaining power, people would just disappear. I'm not talking about the Jews, but just in general, his opponents would just disappear. Kind of similar things that we see out of Russia lately. His opponents just disappear. They're not off on a camp someplace. They're probably dead, or if they've got information that's useful, they might keep them locked away until they got all the information out of them. Satan doesn't care about your life. In fact, he'd prefer if you would just roll over and die. That's what he would prefer. But he can't do it because God won't let him. He is going to get some time to do some of that. The harlot is going to be able to kill Christians here pretty soon. The harlot is our one world establishment of a political system. Did I screw that up enough that they can't read it and figure it out? I don't know. Their bots right now are doing most of their policing, but if somebody were to watch some of these videos, they may warn me. Until I get some warnings, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, but I will eventually probably be off the air, but hopefully we'll be in the clouds by that time. You need to, if you're not in church, get back to church. We're commanded to go to church. Now, if you can't find one near you, then do what the early Christians did. They didn't meet in buildings, they met in homes. Get your friends together and have a Bible study on Sunday. You don't have to have a church to do that. Now, if there's a church in your area that you like and you're used to go, get back to going. Change your schedule. Stop doing what you're doing on Sunday and go back. Now, I've been involved in churches where I've, you go to Wednesdays and Thursdays and sometimes Fridays. Saturday was typically a day off, but then back Sunday and maybe Monday or Tuesday. There's plenty of stuff to do. Now for me it's a little harder right now because I'm traveling. As I travel, I do find a church to go to, but it's hard to get involved in all the activities. But I'm doing this, so I spend church with you. But you've got to get out and support. The institutions that we are familiar with are being destroyed piece by piece. Many of the churches that shut down during the Big C have not reopened. One in particular that I know about for sure shut down and opened back up as a new modern woke church. Satan won one battle. We can't let him win all the battles or he wins the war. If we're not a pain in the back for him down here, then there's no reason for us to be raptured. He'll leave us alone. That ought to be motivation to get you out there and helping out and fighting against him. As long as we're not important, he won't come after us. We're the only ones that would recognize him. We're the only ones that can stop this. And it starts with you. There isn't a revival that's ever happened that didn't start at home first. Churches don't lead revivals. People do. Because a revival, for it to work, has to get out into the community. Now, we can have a revival and not change history. We can basically say, okay, Satan, we've had enough of you. Get away from me. Leave me alone. Leave my friends and family alone. If we all prayed that, even if at the 47%, we would greatly impact his ability to work. But the only way for us to have the power to do that, you see the examples of those that tried to stop demons in Jesus' time, and they got beat up because they were only using the name and not the power. We have the power. I'm seeing my breath. I guess it's more moisture in the air. It's been pretty dry lately. We haven't had any real rain. We're in the dry season, which is probably beneficial. Monday is a moving day for me. I want to make sure I throw that out. So I may have a shorter video on Tuesday. Everything's like a day behind. I work on them the day before or the morning before like this. I'll do the Bible study probably this afternoon. I've got almost instantaneous upload speed now. I'm going to miss that. It's time to move on, but it doesn't mean it's time to give up or change. We keep fighting, and we need more soldiers. If you're not doing anything, help out. If you're not able to physically help out, find a church or something that you can get involved in, that you believe in, and financially help. If you can't do that, pray. Pray for the organizations and leaders that are out there. It seems like most of the strong leaders are in the worst area. California, they keep trying to shut everything down. They keep trying. They've been overturned by the Supreme Court because they can't rule on religion. But they keep trying, and they keep speaking out. Jack Hibbs, one of the preachers out there, put up a list of who to vote for. And now they're trying to censor him. We have freedom of speech. It doesn't end at the pulpit. They're going to take everybody's religious freedom away. That's their goal. After the video, I posted a picture that Glenn Beck had on his chalkboard. How to take over and destroy a country. Get rid of the religion first. And and they're working on it. Canada's still pulling stuff up there because they don't have a constitutional protection. Other countries around the world are far worse off than we are, of course, because we've had our leadership in the area of Christ. We've been known for it around the world. That's why Iran calls us the Great Satan. Whenever they call us anything, whenever the left calls us anything, it's usually they're pointing their finger back at them. It's what they are. The left is the Great Satan. And the things that they have in store for us, we're not going to want to be around. Now, it may not get for us before the rapture, it may not get too bad. But what they did in the first century, they'd be happy to repeat. They may throw us to the lions. There's plenty of room in the deserts of the Southwest to bury every Christian in the United States. And I use that as a reference because Christians used to torment the gambling areas, and then the leaders would disappear. Yep, and they find them out in the desert. Look at how many bodies they found in Lake Mead when it got down really low. They're there for a reason, because somebody was bothered. Okay. I'm going to try to, in my study, recap some of what I've talked about now, but this is just, I'm talking to you. This is not really designed as a sit-down lesson. We have to wake up to what's happening. I have friends that have they're neck deep in sand where they've buried their heads and they don't want to. Have you seen what's on the news? I don't want to hear about it. It doesn't make it go away because you don't want to hear about it. Wake up, smell the coffee, grow a backbone if you need to, all of which God is happy to supply, and get out and help. We're past our basic high watches, but we're still in a rapture watch. Just look around. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, literally. We can't be down here a whole much longer. And it doesn't have to wait until the spring or fall Jewish festivals. The first rapture is not tied to those. It's tied to Satan, Revelation 12. As soon as he decides to come after us, whatever the gestation period is for the Revelation 12 sign, that's when we're out of here. So we got to be ready. But we've got to take people with us, or we at least have to plant seeds. We should be running around like Johnny Appleseed, throwing seeds out in both directions, telling people they're not going to take it, they're not going to listen, and they're not going to accept Christ yet. But if you don't plant the seeds, then there's no seed to grow. Plant seeds. There's not a whole lot of time. We're going into winter, literally. There's no time. Everything's going to go dormant. But even if you plant seeds in the winter, if you plant them in a hothouse or keep them inside, keep them cool, ready to plant next season, it doesn't matter. Whatever the season is, we should be doing something. If you've got a farm, you know that you don't stop working. Pretty much all year round you're working. Most of the work is not hard. It just never ends. Christians should be the same way. No excuses. Like they say in the South here, excuses don't feed the bulldog. We need to be out working. Not everybody needs a YouTube channel. They're going to shut these down eventually. If we go to war, the internet's going to probably be down. Did you see where they cut the cables out of, was it France? They have ocean cables that go across. I don't know if it was from France to England or whether it was, I don't think it was all the way to here, but they cut the cables. They blew up the pipeline for Russia under the water. This war is going to continue. An EMP would basically knock out the internet. Might even destroy your phones. What are you going to do? Everybody's walking around with their nose in their phones. I think the government likes that. They don't know what's going on. They're spending all their time on TikTok or I don't know about Twitter. Musk is still going ahead with that. That should finish up in a week or two if it goes through. It doesn't matter. What's happening in the world is happening pretty much undercover. Pray for all the ministries out there, including mine. Pray for the people that are speaking out, like Glenn Beck. One of his shows a couple of weeks ago was about a reporter who's just disappeared right after a visit from the DOJ. Nobody knows where he is. That's our government. Let criminals go free and arrest churchgoers. That's our government. And our fearless leader gets up there and lies repeatedly. And nobody calls him on it. And he says he's running again. Why not? They have control because we give it to them by not doing anything. Take that talent that God gave you, the coin or the 10 coins or the 5 coins or even the single coin, and invest it. Put it to work. He didn't like it when the one guy said he buried it and was afraid to bring it out. You want to stand before Jesus and tell him, I didn't think you could help me? Really? You didn't think God could do anything? Then you've let Satan win. Even if you're a Christian, you can still let Satan win. Don't let him. Get out there and fight. We will meet in the clouds eventually, but there's still a lot of work to do. Okay, hello everyone. I've been trying to tell you that you've got to get out and do something to help. We're in a stage where we're running out of time. Right now, we can still go out relatively safely and get things done. But we're told the harlot's going to be drunk with the blood of Christians. We're not seeing the blood of Christians yet. Not the blood. Intimidation, yeah, our government's good at that. But right now it's still pretty safe. You need to be out working, doing things. You say, I don't have to work to get to heaven. No, you don't. But he didn't save you to go sit on the front porch and rock. Now, I love to go out in my swings wherever I'm at. If there's a swing, I'll be parking myself there, but I'm talking while I'm there. I'm rocking, but I'm talking. But you need to be out doing things. So I want to look at James today. We're going to see that we weren't saved to sit around. If you're here on earth right now, you have a purpose for God, period. Maybe you're not happy with your life, but it's the life that God gave you because he needs you to be helping him from your point of view. Your point of view will match somebody else's point of view that needs encouragement. You're suffering. Well, there's somebody suffering probably exactly the way you are. You say, no one's suffering like I am. I'm the only one who's ever suffered like this. In the pity party, because God doesn't want you in a pity party. His gift to you is joy. And you need to accept that just like you accepted salvation. All the gifts, they're called gifts in Galatians for a reason. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering. Read them. Galatians 5. The bottom line is that you have to accept them, just like you accepted salvation. And then once you've got that, you're going to go, once you're saved, you're going to go get baptized. Why? Because you have to be baptized to be, to go to heaven? No. But it's an outward sign. It's showing the world that you've accepted Christ. It's showing God. And it's being obedient to God. Jesus was baptized. What, he didn't have the Spirit? But he was baptized because it was a requirement that if you really are, then you're going to accept baptism. Baptism is a symbolic dying away into the water, coming back up a new person. That's what it symbolizes. But you don't need to be baptized to get that. I completely agree. But it's being obedient to God. And so is everything else that we're required to do. It's to be obedient to God, to help others. That's being obedient to God. Because God is love, we have to show that love too. God is joyous, we have to show joy. All the things that are gifts are from the Spirit. If you're not blocking the Spirit, then you will get those gifts. And if you're not getting what you're asking for, then you're not being faithful and waiting on the Lord. The answers are always quite simple. I think it was in the movie Murder by Death. Peter Sellers playing the Oriental. Answer very easy. Question hard. We have to use this book as a tool to help us. Now, let's take a look at James. I'm going to start in James 1. Let's go with 16. Do not be deceived. Why are we hearing that all the time in the Bible? Because Satan is out there and he will deceive you. He's going to show you something that you desire and dangle it right in front of you to get you to sin. Don't fall for that. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. It comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow or turning. Of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of his creations. He created us in God's image, in our image, he's telling us in Genesis. Elohim in the first sentence is plural. Jesus was there. And the Spirit and God, the Trinity. Can't deny it. So he was there before we were born, and now that we are living on this earth, which is a terminal disease, he's given us life afterwards by simply accepting him. But if we really are loving, we're going to try to do things to help people. Your works are not going to get you to heaven. Somebody's going to come out and say that. Don't tell us we have to work. No. And you don't have to be baptized. You can accept Jesus and then go work in a brothel. You could. You would completely break Christ's heart and be of no use on this planet, and he may take you home. But why would anybody want to do that to somebody that they love. Okay? Qualities needed in trials. I'm in verse 19 now. So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. I want to focus on this one a little bit right now. Our government, and that's as far as I want to go, is pushing, push, poking. Some of them have their fingers poking, some of them are using a hot poker, some of them are using a cattle prod. They're all poking. Why? To get us to react. And then they can slam down as hard as they want punishment as an incentive to others not to react. They're getting ready to pull some stuff that is diabolical. It's right straight from the heart of Satan. And when they pull this stuff, they want us to react. Jesus stood there, remember, when he was being accused and said nothing. He could have reacted. He finally did react at one point when he said, I could send down angels to save me. I'm not going to. Because this is the will of God. Always remember, the will of God takes precedence over anything else. Okay, and continuing on in 21. Therefore lay aside all filthiness and overflow of wickedness, and receive the meekness, the implanted word. You got to read the word to get it implanted, which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word and not just hearers, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his own face in the mirror. For he observes himself and then goes away and immediately forgets what kind of a man he is. Basically, we know what we are. And you can look in the mirror and you can imagine whatever you want. But when you walk away or see the results, you can't fool God or yourself. You can pretend, but you know what you're doing. Find a purpose. God gives you likes and dislikes as part of your being. You are unique. Don't look to somebody else to find your purpose. Look to God because he created you with a uniqueness that nobody else has. Nobody can do the things that you can do. Through Christ. You got to be saved first. If you're not saved, you got to seek out Jesus first. Ask for forgiveness and have faith in him. Believe in him. Ask him into your heart. That's a separate issue. But if you're a Christian, God already has a plan laid out for you. He knows what you're going to like to do. Now, maybe you're afraid to do it because you've never done it before. But I guarantee that if you start doing it a little bit, that fear will go away and it'll be replaced by the elation of doing something that God created you to do. You're not going to get to heaven through works. If you're not a Christian, none of this is applying to you. But if you're a Christian and you do the things that God created you to do, you will be happy doing it. Why do you think these apostles and disciples in the first century would die, would allow somebody to hang them on a cross, even upside down? Why do you think they would allow that? Because they saw Jesus. They accepted him. And he gave them the abilities and the strength to do what they did. It's all there. I want to jump over to, well, there's a commentary here I'm just going to read a little bit out of. James, like I said, talks about faith and works, how they have to work together. You can't have one without the other. Works are no good without faith. Faith are no good to anybody but you. Don't be selfish. Turn that faith into works helping people. Actions truly speak, this is the commentary, truly speak louder than words. James explained that good works are a beautiful way to show your faith. James, an early church leader, championed the delicate but critical interplay between faith and works. Believers cannot have one without the other. He explained faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. You've got to be doing something with this faith. Now we can get saved, we can start doing things, and then Satan can scare us. We can back away, pull in. You don't have to go out and immediately stand on the corner and start shouting with a blowhorn, but you should be doing something to work out of it. If you've pulled in and you're comfortable in that position, that's not good. Take a few baby steps. Just get out. People who are homebound and don't want to leave the house, that can be something that's a problem that psychologists try to figure out how to help, and some can't. But God can. Call on Him, stay in the Word, and at least while you're at home, not going out, at least be improving yourself. Because eventually you will get to the point where you can go out. Maybe you just need to strengthen yourself up to handle Satan's attack next time. Well, fine, do that. But don't go home and sit. Don't turn on soap operas. Don't fill your brain with all the news stories that are going on, which are depressing. I do watch some of them so I can talk to you, but I can't watch them all the time. They kind of get addicting. You start watching one and then it goes on to the next one. You can get pulled into that. Eventually you got to pull back, get with God, restore your strength, and then get out and do something with that. God will help you, but you've got to also be patient. God has 3 answers to any of your requests. Yes, here it is. No, you can't have that. And 3, yes, I'm working on it. Be patient. Because maybe you're not ready, or the person that you want to be doing something with is not ready. Or even the technology is not ready. We've got the ability to communicate anywhere in the world. And if you say, I want to hear from so-and-so in the other part of the world, well, they're getting internet installed next week, so wait. You don't know. God does. Wait upon the Lord, and He'll renew your strength. Okay. That's just a little bit out of the commentary. I have one more verse I want to read. I'm over in chapter 3 of James. My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment. For we all stumble in many things. And if anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man. How many of us are perfect? Only one that I know of. Able also to bridle his whole body. Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouths, the metal bits in their mouths, so we can control them so they will obey us. They become our steering wheel, the reins. Because they're uncomfortable when you resist them. We need to make sure that we're doing what God wants us to do. You don't have to talk like I'm doing. I love to talk. I didn't used to, but I do now, because God got me into the situation where I had to, and then I realized it's not as bad as I thought it was. And that's exactly how He's going to deal with you. Whatever your situation. Some people are just plain good listeners. And anybody who's got a problem needs someone to tell it to. Now, I've gone and I've sat in hospitals and listened to people with their problems, but I didn't understand what I was doing. So I listened, and it probably helped a little bit. but I didn't help them to deal with their problem. Getting it off your chest, you collect everything inside too much, you get too much steam inside, and that steam has to have a release. But just listening can help. But then after you've listened, they're going to go, so what do you think? They will eventually. Once they got all that steam pressure released, they're going to sit back and go, okay, I have nothing more to complain about. What do I do? Tell them about Jesus. If they don't know him, introduce them. That's the first step of getting them back to full health, or at least an eternal place to live. And whatever they're dealing with, they won't deal with in heaven. God's going to wipe away all tears. So whatever you're dealing with, God will take care of. All right. That's all I'm going to say today with this. You've got to get out and do something. You've got to help. Now, I've said before, if you are wheelchair bound, you don't have to get out and go door to door necessarily. You could if you wanted to, but that's not necessarily what you need to be doing. But there's all kinds of places. There's a job specific for you that you will love to do. Just ask Jesus for help, but then be ready. If it's something for you to do to help people, he may be a little quicker than if you say, I need a new car. But he's going to give it to you in your timing. And he may say, okay, fine. I'm going to get you out there and help people, but okay, prepare. Read the Bible for a little bit. Study this. Learn how to talk to people that need help. If someone's complaining about something, don't interrupt them and tell them, well, you can't be like that. They're letting off steam. Let them do it. If they get angry letting off steam, take it. Remember, we're dead in Christ. Help people by listening, finding out what their needs are, and showing them how to give them to Jesus. He's always ready to help. Okay. We keep waiting. He's coming eventually, but this world is really getting bad, and you've got to get out and help people so that they can at least ride through this. There are people out there that are riding through all the things going on, absolutely petrified because they don't have God. Find them, help them. Plant the seeds. Maybe they're not ready, but they will be. If they accept the seeds, then you've done your part. The rest is up to the Spirit. Bye for now.